Hello, my name is Owen, and welcome to a quick review of Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. What I want to do is brief over the book is about, tell you the things that I liked and tell you the things that I didn't like. Jumping straight into it, this is about our main character, Nina, and her family, her brothers and sister, who they live in Malibu, and they are well off in their careers. Nina is a model. Her siblings are surfers, and her other sibling is a photographer. They're well-to-do in Malibu, and they're throwing their annual party extravaganza, some would say. All the who's who of Hollywood come down and party at Nina's house, but she just realized that her husband cheated on her. Kind of the start of the story, and then we also get some flashbacks to how they got where they're at with her mother and her mother meeting their dad and their relationship with their parents and kind of that how that unfolds. For those of you that know me, you know I love some Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think that she's great. She's a very intentional author in that she always has very tight plots, well thought out characters, well developed characters, and every story is fairly contained. It's fairly short. It always feels very focused. That she doesn't get distracted too much. There's not a lot of filler in her books, which I really appreciate it. Makes her a great slump breaker author whenever I feel like I'm reading too much of the same genre or just not enjoying reading in general. If I pick up a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, I know it's going to be a good story, a solid book. She's just a great writer, so I really enjoy her work. This one, I will say, it's more of the same greatness from Taylor Jenkins Reid. I feel like it's a very contained story. I like the unique spin of this book, kind of the parallel story of the day of the party, the day of this event, starting from the morning, going to the evening, interspersed with some flashbacks of these main characters' childhood and also like their parents' childhoods as well as they grow up. That being said, of the 4 books of hers that I've read, I do think this is the weakest one, unfortunately, which is a shame because I was looking, for some reason, not that I super researched her plots before I read them, I was looking forward to this one a little bit more. I just thought that in general, the story, not that it wasn't as interesting as I would have liked it to be, but I thought that the structure in some ways left a little bit to be desired, which even though I just complimented the structure for its uniqueness, because one thing I do like about Taylor Jenkins Reid books is that she always has a spin on her books, right? Like Daisy Jones and the Six was a music band documentary, and then it really got deep into like the lives of rock stars and the musicians and going on the road. You really got that vibe. Carrie Soto, the world of a professional athlete and the grind of the tennis world and the sports broadcaster's commentary on her life, kind of interspersed with these dialogues of these sportscasters talking about her career, and it kind of provides additional context to maybe how like she's viewed by the world, viewed by people around her, and how that impacts Carrie Soto's psyche throughout that book. That was very interesting. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, old Hollywood industry, going throughout her career. This one, it's a little bit less focused. It is like Malibu, Hollywood, LA culture a little bit into the surfing world, beach culture, kind of that vibe, but it's not as like nitty gritty. And I think in some ways, even though I like the unique structure of each hour of the day as the chapters, I thought it being contained in just that one day left some things on the table in terms of like character growth, character evolution that we normally get in a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. Because one of my favorite parts about this book, about Malibu Rising, is the first half, I would say it's about the first half, when we're getting the majority of these flashbacks, because we spend a lot of time with June, the mother, and her meeting her husband, Mick, and their relationship developing, and when like he leaves her, and he's an absent father, and we learn that in very quickly on like in the real time things, but kind of how the relationship develops, their toxic relationship, their back and forth, how the relationship evolved and devolved, and their growth of that. I thought June and Mick's story was far more interesting than what actually happens at the party. Not that the kids and the siblings aren't interesting characters, because I think they are interesting characters. Reid is great at giving them specific flaws that they have to work through, like their insecurities, their weaknesses. Each of these siblings has something unique, and it's very realistic characters, and I like them all. And they're all very enjoyable and likable in their own ways, even when they conflict with each other. But because we're caught into this one day, we don't really get to explore any of these in real depth. we see some of these kind of climax, they come to a head, specific plot points and conflicts and personalities and secrets that they've been hiding from each other come to a head in this story. That's like this party, this inciting incident of this party, everything that goes wrong in this party. But because it's contained within that one day, all of the party parts felt a little less fleshed out than I would expect from a Reid book, if that makes sense. And she also tries to fill out this party by like interspersing different characters from Hollywood, not like real life, but like this is a struggling actress who wants to leave the city. This is a person struggling with a drug problem. This person is suicidal. And just these little vignettes to try to show like, look how many messed up people are in LA. Look how they all come to this party. They look like they're living the life. They think they're rich, they're powerful to the outsiders, but inside they're just broken people, which is interesting enough. But like I just felt like they broke up the flow a little bit as well, so we weren't spending a lot of time with our main characters. So in the present day moments, we weren't spending all of our time with our main characters, and there wasn't enough time for them to be fleshed out. It just made it, I don't know, it just felt unfinished to me. Not unfinished, maybe is the bad word, because like again, I think Reid is a very intentional author. I think she knows exactly what she's doing. But I think I just wanted a little bit more from the impact of the story. And I would never say that like, for the most part, I feel like Reid's books can be predictable, like especially Carrie Soto, like it's a sports book through and through. So you kind of know like one option, she's going to win and achieve her goal, or she's going to lose the game and fail their goal and learn something greater in the process. That's kind of the two options with a sports book. I would say that this book is predictable in the sense of like the growth these characters will come to, the actions that they will take when push comes to shove, because I never get the sense that Reid is a dark author, that these things are going to end extraordinarily badly for her characters, which is not a bad thing for that to be able to be predicted. But because like it's coming, and because these characters aren't fleshed out, I thought the ending kind of just fell flat for me, because I knew what was going to happen. The emotional climax wasn't that good, and I think like the promise of the premise of this book is like it's this party that goes wrong. That's how we're first introduced to the book. Everything goes wrong at the same time. And it does, but it doesn't really, not really impactfully. So I never felt like there was really any stakes in this book. And I think that's in part just due to the structure of the book and how everything that needs to wrap up in this one day and the depths that we're allowed to go into these characters. But circling back to the thing that I liked, the time jumping of the flashbacks of the mother character and Mick, and exploring his rise to fame and how that impacted him mentally. Their dynamic was very interesting, and even the kids, when they were little, living with their mother and seeing their mother struggle, that was the far more interesting story to me. And that's the first half of the book, maybe even more than the first half of the book, and it's very, very solid. But it ends before the end of the book, and then it's just what happens in the present day. It's wrapping up everything in the present day, and that's the stuff that wasn't as interesting to me, unfortunately. So overall, like I got done with my favorite parts fairly quickly, and I was just waiting for them to come back, or waiting for a similar feeling of that to come back, and it doesn't, unfortunately. But that being said, it was still an easy read, still a very satisfying read to me, just not my favorite of her books, if that makes sense. I think in general, I think she, maybe she's just, Reid Strong Put is just a lifetime. Exploring these characters over a lifetime, doing time jumps, because that was one of the things I liked about Carrie Soto. That was my favorite parts of this book. Seven Husbands does that as well. Really experiencing these characters throughout different stages of their life, seeing how they change. That's where I think Reid really shines as a character writer. And there's a lot of that in the first half, not so much towards the last half of the book, and I think that's where it fell a little bit flat for me. But overall, still a very entertaining read. I do appreciate the Carrie Soto cameo, even though, if I understand correctly, this book came first, because I really did like Carrie Soto, so kind of seeing her pop into this book and her specific personality and how that contrasted our main character and her personality flaws, I thought was an interesting dynamic as well, especially since we know Carrie's insecurities as well from reading that book. So that was kind of a cool connection, because not really in this book, I know like she has like her world, like the Reid universe or whatever. All the books take place in the same universe, which is like a alternate version of the real world with these different pop culture figures essentially inserted in. This was the first instance where there was kind of a crossover, which I thought was actually pretty interesting. But what I don't want is all the crossover books. I don't want the Avengers of Taylor Jenkins Reid books. Or please, we've had enough of that nonsense. I just like that little moment of kind of knowing these characters and seeing them interact, and how Carrie Soto's brief character interaction with our main character kind of was a character moment for her as well. I just thought it was interesting. But overall, a solid book. I think Reid has written better. So if you're thinking of reading Reid, read something else from her. And then maybe check this one out too, because it's definitely a solid book as well. Let me know what you thought of the book if you read it in the comments below. And be sure to like and subscribe if you like the video and you want to see more like it in the future. And as always, thanks for sticking around.